Advertisers loved it because here was the new TV that was happening. The TV is reborn. We're able to target them extremely better so that they can actually do individualized targeting of messaging from an advertising standpoint.
The news space can truly benefit immensely from the power of CTV that Amagi can help marketers and the content providers both harness beautifully together.
To a point of arrogance, to an extent of saying there should be a pre-Amagi and a post-Amagi phase. This is the first time where we're seeing this significant digital spending on news starting to become an extremely good part of the revenue equations for everybody. The fundamental change it's made is it is replacing the set-top box in your home.
Hello and welcome to Mediacast, the podcast series from MediaBrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pawan R. Chawla, and I thank you for joining me today for a conversation with someone I hold in very high regard. So please join me as I welcome Baskar Subramanian, co-founder and CEO of Amagi. Baskar, welcome to Mediacast and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Pawan. Thanks for taking this up with me. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And Baskar, thanks very much indeed. Also, to two wonderful people. One is Mayukha Satish of the practice in Bengaluru. Mayukha really helped us with some great coordination to make this interaction possible. And thanks also to Ashish Vashikar, your excellent Corpcom head at Amagi, for all his valuable support. So Bhaskar, we're going to speak about Amagi, which is a company that I have always admired. Let me tell anyone who's been living under a rock that Amagi is a leading media technology company offering cloud-based broadcast and targeted advertising solutions that empower content owners to efficiently launch, distribute, and most important, monetize channels across TV and streaming platforms worldwide. And Bhaskar, you are one of the original visionaries on media and entertainment and broadcasting and streaming from India. And you're a serial entrepreneur who's been doing so much for the entire space through Amagi. So, Bhaskar, we're going to be talking about Amagi, all its excellent services and impact, its ability, for instance, to empower marketers with the power and value of CTV and FAST or free ad supported streaming services, technology, and more. But I'm convinced that a small but very significant sector of M&E, the news space, can truly benefit immensely from the power of CTV that Amagi can help marketers and the content providers both harness beautifully together. So yeah, we'll speak of all that and much more. But first, Baskar Subramanian, I'm going to call you Bhaskar with affection. Please tell me, for my viewers and listeners, about yourself, your journey of a professional lifetime in less than a minute, including your 2 or 3 top learnings from it so far. Long question, short answer. Take it away.
As short as possible as well, right? So as you know, my name is Baskar. I'm an engineer by training. Software is my first love, and started my career. Did my bachelor's in computer science in Tamil Nadu. Then went for my master's in IIT Bombay, dropped in the middle, doing my computer science course. Worked a couple of years. My total corporate experience is 2 years in Texas Instruments. Been an entrepreneur twice. The second time is what Amagi is. First time we ran a company called ImpulseSoft. Ran it for 5 years. It was a multimedia technology company, 2000 to 2005. We sold it to a NASDAQ listed company. And second venture was Amagi. So I've been part of the co-founding team and continue to enjoy and grow the company that we're doing today.
Wonderful. No, Amagi has done a huge amount of very impactful work, a lot of empowerment of the entire media broadcasting. In fact, the marketing economy and the ecosystem. And the more digital keeps coming and growing, the more Amagi can do beautifully well, literally, and no pun intended, in a very targeted way.
Sure.
So, yeah. Tell me your inspiration that led you to creating Amagi in brief. I mean, you were used to and perhaps surrounded by all the linear stuff that used to come to you on traditional pipelines of content delivery. But of course, you being you, one of the top 1 percentile brainiacs from India, out abroad, engineer by profession, and so much more by passion, and a serial entrepreneur by, I think, by habit. So tell me, what was the inspiration that led you to creating Amagi, and how has that sort of evolved? Amagi, the company, since
Yeah.
then.
See, I think Amagi was fundamentally the core value proposition we started Amagi was we wanted to disrupt the marketplace. We said any market that we enter in, we should disrupt that and essentially create an entirely new, in fact, to a point of arrogance to an extent of saying there should be a pre-Amagi and a post-Amagi phase of those businesses that we actually get into. Again, I don't know, it's too arrogant, but I know. But that's the sort
No,
of
no.
that's where we started this whole aspect of it, right?
Mm.
And when we
Mm.
looked at it, and obviously we looked at multiple different businesses, and media looked again. We were completely outside the media business, but looked at it. We say it was very lagardish in adoption of new technologies. Digital streaming was happening, cloud
Mm.
infrastructure and software is going to change the world. We thought there is an opportunity to go learn the media business and also kind of disrupt it as we go through that process. And I think that's what
Okay.
for us for the last 14 years now that we've been doing as a company.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So, tell my viewers and listeners. I know, I mean, I've been in the broadcasting space and entertainment and media and everything else for, I don't know, donkey's years now, more than 40, 45 years. So I do know a lot about Amagi, about all the new trends that are actually helping it shape things better and itself become far more desirable an object of investment for anybody who might be so interested, frankly. But tell our listeners about Amagi. What is it that Amagi gives to the marketplace? How does it empower the marketplace? What is the size of the sectors and subsectors together that Amagi services? And just imagine that you are addressing not the 5% of marketers who would know the wops and the weps of the weaves of Amagi, but even the young students and professionals and managers in the making, because they are the ones who are going to be using the best powers of the Amagis of the world. I know that's a little against your arrogance. There are not too many Amagis in the world, but still, give me the idiot's guide to Amagi's offerings.
Among his offerings, fairly straightforward, right? As we talked about, we are a media technology company, pretty much helping anybody who has content to be able to
Hmm.
distribute, produce, distribute, monetize. These are three aspects of the content. And I'll give an
Okay.
analogy so it's easier for people to
Hmm.
understand, right? If you take a retail analogy, just to give you kind of what happens in a retail, assuming I
Hmm.
am Nike as a shoe manufacturer, for example. In the earlier days, Nike used to manufacture shoes, take it to a Nike store, for example. But that's not
Hmm.
going to open a market for you because today you want the Nike store, Nike shoe to be available in your e-commerce stores, in your local shoe stores, in supermarkets where you go, wherever you go, you want to kind of have an access to that same shoe, for example. The exact same analogy is happening in the content business, where our
Hmm.
customers who are content creators are saying, I've created a piece of content. Now I want to be able to package it in every form and fashion and distribute
Hmm.
it to every other place from where my consumers can consume content. That could be
Okay.
subscription platforms, advertising driven platforms, could be transaction driven platforms,
Hmm.
anywhere that people want to go worldwide, globally, we want to take the content. So think about we as a backend. What do?
Hmm.
Enable them to take their content, create linear channels, create live shows, create their on-demand VOD content. If they want to do a video on-demand content, want to create shorts content, you can create all of that. And eventually we
So
distribute
extend their reach in the
extend
first
the reach.
place,
But
right?
their fundamental idea is that we will take you to as many consumers or viewers who want to view your content. That's the first step. By
Correct.
distributing it, we are also enabling you to monetize it because we can now identify every consumer target in the
Right.
vicinity of what who are watching our content because we have content context. That means we understand the content very well. We know the
Hmm.
emotion, the genre, the artist, what is happening in a scene, the same emotions can be carried to an advertiser, and we also understand the viewer. We're able to target them extremely better, so that they can actually do individualized targeting of messaging from an advertising standpoint, which becomes the monetization engine.
And create messages in terms of also to fit the viewer engagement,
Exactly,
the
exactly.
kind of people who are consuming it. I'm sorry I interrupted you. Please go ahead. I'm finding this very insightful, and tell
Yeah,
me.
start with that whole journey of enabling them to produce. So we run the back-end factory for content owners. So we are the factory for them. We are the trucks for them, because we're distributing them to everywhere that they need to go. We are actually an electronic truck to some extent, taking those content
Correct.
in every form and fashion, distributing it. We're bringing back analytics of saying, hey, what is working and what is not working, and obviously bringing back the monies so that they can actually get the money.
Absolutely. The whole thing is, I mean, three major solid essential critical links. One is extending the reach,
Correct.
giving them more and more exposure to really the kind of audiences they want and need,
Correct.
and that fit with their needs. And secondly, the monetization opportunities as a result of all that
True.
extended reach.
True.
And then perhaps farming viewer engagement and viewer consumption
True.
habits and preferences, and going back to your marketers and your creators of content and telling them this is the kind of stuff that you need to sort of tweak.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, really, really, very, very, very good. In today's day and age, look, linear is facing an onslaught.
True.
I still believe that linear television is a huge, huge medium for the next 5 years.
Right.
Nobody can
Absolutely.
really topple it off its
Absolutely.
perch. But the only thing that I think could possibly do that would be perhaps CTV and
Okay.
FAST,
True. True.
because these are huge and they are growing trends. So please tell me first about the power of CTV, okay, and even give the idiot's definition of CTV and FAST, and tell them why and how brands and marketers from the smallest of brand, a Thagu ke laddu in Kanpur, can target Thagu ke laddu through Amagi advertising on CTV only in Kanpur or across all the way to Unnao and Lucknow and everywhere else. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's the kind of stuff that you do.
True.
But I think the biggest, thickest, strongest pipeline is one, CTV,
Correct.
and B, of course, FAST. So just tell us about those and how Amagi can help brands
See, first,
ride those brand wagons.
absolutely, absolutely. First, if you look at it from a CTV standpoint, CTV, as we all know, is connected television. And again, if you look at over the last 5 years, TVs, which started with what we used to call the idiot box because it was not connected, has suddenly become smarter. We call it smart TV or connected TV, fundamentally because it has connection of some sort of Wi-Fi, internet connected television has become a reality. The fundamental change it's made is it is replacing the set-top box in your home by a new device, which is a TV itself becomes smarter. They are connected. That means you can be individually consuming content what you need from the way. This is the first time outside of the mobile phone that we all had that suddenly the large TV, the home, if you look at it, TV is in your home, in your living room fundamentally. This is the most compelling entertainment device in the families. And obviously, we want to watch something together. We all come together in the living room and watch it on a television set. Now, because it's CTV, it is completely addressable. That means every individual home can actually have a personalized content and a personalized advertising streams that's potentially happening. Now,
Not just home, but every individual television set in
every
every
television
room of the
set,
house.
absolutely right. And again, if you look at it in the US where we operate, on an average, an individual home has 3.5 televisions on an average.
Correct. Correct.
Unlike obviously India is maybe slightly lower, but the idea is that's where it's going today. For example, everybody I don't know, everybody seems to keep it in their bathrooms, kitchen. Everybody has a TV set everywhere in their homes in the US, for example. Now, what is FAST is all about, right? Free and supported streaming TV. It went through a very interesting phase, right? 2018, 17, 18, you had content creators who were coming out of YouTube. They were all having hundreds of millions of views, but they all wanted to build a TV brand. So there were content creators available. CTV had become big, where it's almost 30 million homes, household television sets were connected in the US. So you had TV sets, you had content creators who were ready to connect with each other. You had a lot of people who are cutting cord in the US because, unlike India, the average revenue per user on a cable in the US is $60. In India, it's $2, $3, but $60. It was very expensive. People were in hostels and homes, and a lot of young people did not want to spend on really on the cost of cable. So they were all trying to cut the cable and actually move to homes where you had audiences who were ready to consume free content. You had content owners who want to bring in that new interesting content to homes. You had televisions starting to become really ready for that, for the whole the new content to be ready available, right? So you had three things coming up. Advertisers loved it because here was the new TV that was happening. The TV is reborn, just that it's become better because it's targeted. You get, unlike, you don't need to put a statistical mark of how many people watched it. You know exactly who's watching, which home is watching, what content is getting watched, what time is it getting watched, and who is the viewer in front of the television set. To an extent, you can get a lot of information. So it was a win-win for
Far
everybody.
more detailed profiling than a Bag People Meter will give you any day of the year.
Absolutely, right? So you, for example, today, just to give you context, for advertisers, we can tell them it's Hispanic women 25 plus homes that we can target. We can go to even say mothers we can target. Why do we say mothers we can target? Is because I know that at 3 p.m., if somebody is watching Cartoon Network in that household, and at 9 p.m. they're watching some other content which is women's generated content, I know that the women and there is a child at home, and henceforth I can actually treat a mother. So you have a lot more information. We know the TV.
And you can also show that it is a mother with a child who's watching it at 3.
Absolutely.
So, and the child is the biggest influencer in purchase decisions in the home on gadgets and everything else. I mean, so much of value you can put in. Yeah,
then obviously
please.
you know their IP address, you know their geography, you know the size of television set they're watching. Obviously, the bigger television that is a high economy home that you can go. So there is enough targeting signals you get as a marketer. You got interestingly new content. It is free, and it's on new generation devices. It's a win-win for everybody in the whole system. That's the biggest.
So somebody comes
business.
Right. So somebody comes to you, a marketer, a brand, and says, Mr. Subramanian, how can Amagi help me? I have this budget, this marketing budget. I have to do a media mix. I don't want to put everything on television into linear only. What do I do? What do you tell them? Because I think you are rescuing marketers from the ignominy or the banishment of having to work in measurement dark or measurement opaque spaces.
Correct.
No transparency in what is happening, no brand safety, nothing. It's just, spray and pray. Correct. So a marketer comes to you. How do I come to you as a marketer? What can you do for me, for my brand?
Typically, at Amagi, for example, we have something called an Ads Plus program. So what we do is to consult marketers in terms of what they can deliver, what they can get out of these things. The way, I think the biggest thing in an Indian context, for example, is fundamentally is incremental reach that you can provide. The biggest challenge in television, even it's kind of spray and pray, at some point your reach is limited. There are people who don't watch television, and if you want to get an incremental reach, the television's cost has become extremely expensive. What CTV works initially itself. So even if we want to run a campaign, we would pitch it saying, hey, we'll deliver the incremental reach that you want vis-a-vis your linear television today, which is your bread and butter, which continues to be the bread and butter. But here is a new medium which is extremely targeted. You know that, and it's very, very brand safe because we can tell you exactly where your ad is going to be placed, and we can design that upfront fundamentally. And the currency is where everything is auditable. You know exactly every ad, where it played out, which content, who's the viewer, which geography they've worked. Everything is available fundamentally. So we want to be, the fundamental idea for Amagi is that we want to bring transparency in the system. As much transparency so that advertisers first believe that here is my dollar. I went to the right person or the right household where I want to really target. We want every rupee that they spend should be earning that value for them through this medium that we provide. That's the core philosophy of the company. And that's what we really focus on.
And also your ability to define and deliver audience groups.
Correct.
Some things are sort of very tactical, and you have to go to some certain markets and certain profiles of
True.
people and
Absolutely.
genders and mixes and socio-economic, demographic, whatever, language.
True.
I think it's a no-brainer,
True.
and I personally believe this, and I haven't been paid to say this, but I'm saying that any marketer worth his salt or her salt, uh, with the brains to be leading what they are doing as a mandate, must definitely consider Amagi before signing up with anybody else. Go with who you want, but do not go with no information about Amagi, is what I say. And there are some other similar good entities that provide similar services, and I think that together, all of you all really empower the whole system. So, I mean, this is not only about Amagi, but you were the first ones, and you are huge. And that's why all that respect, because I'm one of the guys who launched Ahat NCID in India. So I'm from that
True.
generation.
Right.
So, and I know that, Magi came in afterwards and you all did great work. So, CTV advertising, I think, is huge. And the Indian advertising market, CTV advertising, is expected to grow significantly. Tell me the size. I think estimates suggest a compounded annual growth rate of about or over maybe 30% in the
Yeah,
coming years.
that's true.
And the FAST revenues. Tell us about those a little bit, please.
So
What is the size?
yes.
And what's the opportunity and potential for growth for an Amagi in India?
So again, see, if you look at it, I think how growth is measured in any market that we've seen is first is the penetration of CTV. We have
Right.
seen that markets whenever it penetrates more than 10 million households or 10 million TV sets, not even households, TV sets, starts becoming very attractive. Because if I'm a marketer, I need reach first. Unique reach becomes a very important part of it. First is targeting is good. Yes, I need targeting, but without a reach, even if I don't do a 10 million reach, it doesn't make sense because it will be too small for a campaign to even be running fundamentally, right? And if you start slicing it on cities or geographies, then it becomes smaller. So always we look for our markets coming to a point of 10 million plus reach, which we are already crossing in India. Clearly, we're seeing that whole progression that's happening. The second part is obviously you want to get the right content mix into this CTV so that people can watch it. Now we're seeing fast platforms coming in, be it a Xiaomi or a Samsung, and all of them. Every TV set is going to be fast enabled in India, including Google
So,
TV that's coming in, a whole slew of things that's going to happen. Interestingly, a lot of our content owners, which is the big brands, TV brands, news brands, content brands, and everybody, are looking to build fast channels for India to start with, which I think is a tremendously a big promise because they all want to be in the ad supported world of things. That will become a big interesting thing. So clearly, that's a second step that's happening. Third, obviously,
okay.
is viewership is ready to go because everybody wants to watch content and free content. Nobody wants to say no to it fundamentally. So I think from a growth standpoint, we are at the cusp of that change. Advertisers obviously are starting to come up. Clearly, they're seeing this as the next television. It will take time for them to get to 100 million or 200 million sort of a reach that you want to do, but we are definitely seeing that path to progress right now. So growth is
Can I
slowly
make a point
taking.
here? Can I just cut in here a little bit?
Yeah,
I completely agree with you that it's going to take time for the proliferation of smart TVs, etc. But look at the cheapest smart TV today. I don't see anybody buying a CRT or anybody
no,
buying a
they're not.
or manufacturing a CRT kind of
Absolutely
a TV.
correct. Correct.
And the cheapest smart TV is, or Android TV, if not Google TV,
Correct. Correct.
is anything above 6 to 7,000 rupees,
True.
depending on size.
That's true.
Right? That is something that anybody who aspires to have their first TV in India
True. Will
can
buy.
afford and will want to and will be forced to buy because of the infrastructure that is so enabling today.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, CTV will give you primarily urban middle to upper middle class families with higher disposable incomes, a preference for premium content. But then the other end of the spectrum also you cover
Absolutely.
with fast,
Fast, yes.
broader audience base,
Correct. Absolutely.
including cost conscious users amongst
Yeah.
various
Exactly.
socioeconomic segments, particularly appealing to younger demographics. So, given both these things,
Right.
okay, my question to you is, And I want to focus on this because state elections are around the corner coming up, and then the long extended festive season, of course. And Amagi can do brilliantly well for itself and for the entire ecosystem that is driven by advertising and
Sure.
viewer engagement. So,
Absolutely.
how can news TV channels benefit from services like Amagi through CTV?
Significantly, right? So, for example, take state elections coming in, right? Beautiful time where you're going to see obviously uptake of overall audiences for news channels going up. You also want to have targeted campaigns for those news channels, because news channels are going to give you a lot more viewership and eyeballs. You want to target
Yes.
it better. Now, CTV is the best option. Go back to your Laddu example. I can do Lucknow, I can do Kanpur, I can do at that level, for example. Now you can actually start segmenting those audiences across the places where you are and actually doing that. I think it will be a big win-win both for the content owners, which is the case the news channels, and the marketers, because now they're able to target. They have the consumption is high in terms of the overall. So you have festival season, you have state elections. Both of them can actually benefit that and bring the uptick by using the CTV as the base mechanism to advertise and do things. I truly believe there'll be a big opportunity for people.
Wonderful. So content distribution is one way that you can really empower them, and ad monetization. I mean, your services, Amagi services, allow channels to insert targeted ads dynamically,
I tell
optimizing
I
ad
tell you,
revenues. So, and analytics and insights. Give me an example of both of these and how they lead to cost efficiency
so
for the
fundamentally, if
marketer
you look at it, if you are running a campaign and you can come back and say, I want to run a campaign only in Mumbai,
on Amagi,
yeah, and
through Amagi.
through Amagi, and I want to do it for, let's say, male targeting. Where I'm like, let's say, real estate uh, apartments that I want to sell. I want to only talk to a male targeted group. You can choose news channels. You can choose Mumbai, and you can actually choose. Obviously, the male target automatically comes through with that, and you can actually only target them and actually build a campaign for yourself fundamentally, right?
Wonderful.
So you can, and now you can do different campaigns also, right? So you can even target to an extent. If you given the IP addresses that we know of the people, we can actually even do South Mumbai versus Thane versus others, right? So you can start to
Okay.
do that. So
Okay.
that's the power of the platform, where it can do micro segmenting either in geography or in demographics and in content, which people can actually leverage much better.
And during peak content consumption hours also.
Yes, this is individually targeted on a per user
Wonderful.
basis, right? So per
And
user.
proactively suggested because there is the Google mind and brain behind it all,
Exactly.
so to speak.
Absolutely.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, what kind of cost efficiencies does advertising see? There is a spray and pray of linear television.
Correct.
Okay, it's literally a spray and pray. Okay, yeah, you want male audiences, elections, you go to the news channels, even on linear, you're definitely bound to get most of them,
Right. Correct.
right? Or a lot of them.
Correct.
But if you're looking specifically for the right, correct, far better segmented and therefore far more profitable for the marketer audiences,
Right. True. True.
then an Amagi kind of CTV service is very, very important.
Very targeted.
So when
Absolutely.
you compare these,
Right.
the linear spray and pray versus the
True.
targeting on CTV through
Right.
Amagi,
Right.
what kind of cost efficiency? What is it an
If you look at it,
apples to
yeah, yeah.
peanuts comparison?
Yeah, it will be, no? Because if you look at the cost per impressions, right? So cost per impressions in India, if you look at it, it's running at about $3 to $4, roughly, right?
Right.
That's where it is from a digital video targeting, for example. If you compare it, now let's take a news channel that you're actually applying. Although the CPMs will look comparable to the digital world, possibly you're wasting a lot of things. Assuming if your targeting is much more finer, you are wasting maybe anywhere from 50% to 80%, depending on which target that you're actually going after. So it means your cost
Wow.
here is 1/5 of the cost that you're actually spending on a per consumer basis. That's the power of the
So
platform.
wonderful. So waste likelihood
Exactly.
on linear is roughly can range anything between 50 to 80%.
Correct. Absolutely.
Oh
Absolutely.
man, amazing. And even if I discount 10% from there, uh, you know, to attributing it to co-founder passion, I still think this is a no-brainer.
Good. And it's more
Wonderful.
nothing to do with the Magi. It's just about the platform, or the technology, and what it
No,
provides.
no, sure, sure. I respect that. Absolutely. And kudos for saying that because really it's this category that you created for India, which is now growing so brilliantly to empower marketers across, the length and breadth of the country. So that's wonderful. So Bhaskar, a lot of television channels, news channels, I think nearly every one of them has to be with an Amagi or a like Amagi service, right? But most of them are with you, have been with you right from day one of their decision to get onto CTV, the space, and really solid and profitable targeting of audiences through their campaigns or for their ad sales. So I know that Republic. I know this from sources that Republic did brilliantly well with you during the last elections, and India Today has been one of the biggest and one of the amongst the finest television news networks, as has been Network 18, News 18 network. So tell me, how have or do you have any cases in point to speak about, even if they just come, and this is an sort of warned question. So whatever comes to mind in terms of how news channels have deployed CTV brilliantly well through Amagi.
I think if you look at it, the last election was in some sense a seminal moment for a lot of the news channels, where the first
Yeah.
time they were coming in a big digital platform with a
Hmm.
much broader distribution that didn't exist earlier. If you look at it,
Hmm.
earlier elections was either on their own websites. Digital was only on their
Hmm.
websites and nowhere else. Here is the first
Hmm.
time where you're able to take that stream and you're able to
Hmm.
get it in a very targeted fashion in a digital stage on
Hmm.
large television screens across the country. First time
Hmm.
we saw significant amount of viewership, and again, some of the TV channels which I'm not able to name went greater than 1 million plus viewers watching simultaneously a single channels, right? So we started
Wow.
seeing lot of progress in terms of traffic was extremely high, and this also enabled most of them to monetize it extremely well because this platform suddenly became big enough for advertisers to take note of. This is the first time they're saying digital is a big part of the strategy, and even in elections, unlike not only TV, but here digital is becoming very big. And I think that was a big change in the market. And I heard from both our TV partners as well as from advertisers that this is the first time where we're seeing this significant digital spending on news starting to become an extremely good part of the revenue equations for everybody. That's a big change
Wonderful.
that's happening in the industry.
Wonderful. So what kind of guesstimate on, say, the growth percentage or increase did you see or do you guesstimate from
So
over
yeah,
the last time?
I say, for example, just in a year's time that we've seen, for example, we've seen 10 times growth in terms of number of advertising impressions has grown 10 times, literally, right? So it means I'm not even a
Wonderful.
percentage I'm talking about,
Wonderful.
10 times growth.
Wonderful.
So again, it's a small base it started off with, but I'm seeing that that growth and the country is starting to become a CTV country soon enough. So we're seeing that progression.
Wonderful. So what are the numbers now? 40 odd million, 40, 45 million
Somewhere in
CTVs in
that range,
India?
yes, somewhere in that range is what CTV is available.
Mm.
It is slightly fractured. Obviously, Samsung is the biggest. Then we're seeing Chroma. Then we're seeing Xiaomi. We're seeing LG coming up in India. We're seeing all of them starting to do that. I think once they all have the fast platforms, you're going to see that fairly large 40, 50 million households suddenly watching free content, and then suddenly the advertising ecosystem gets a new medium which doesn't exist. So that will be an interesting
Mm.
phase that I think it's just few, maybe less than a year away, that we're seeing that whole strategy playing out in the country.
And as part of your audience segmentation or identification or whatever, you know, stamping,
Yes.
uh, do you also get to see, do Amagi systems also recognize the make and the format of the television
We know.
set?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
if I want to sell an Aston Martin and I'm the Aston Martin MD in
Right.
India,
Right.
will I be able to target the 8K TV owners and then, go
Absolutely.
to them? Or
Absolutely.
if I work with Abhinandan Loda and I want to go out with the biggest and best of, luxury places? I mean,
Absolutely.
does
Absolutely.
Amagi help that way also?
Yes, yes, we do that very regularly in the US. For example, the size of the
In the
television.
US.
Size of the
Hmm.
television matters, right? So because it tells you the size of the, if it's a more than a 60-inch, 70-inch televisions at home, you know that that's a
Wow.
high economy home. So you have all this information available, including the TV brand name, everything you know. about the whole system, including for example, in the US, we know at a county level or almost like a street level information. That means we know it's a high income locality, an area which is high income. In India, you don't have that level of granularity, but there we can tell you it's almost like a Juhu. I can actually say, here is a Juhu, or here is a Bandra setup that we can actually go after. In Bandra,
So do you?
here is a 60-inch television households that's available. Right?
Wonderful. So I think you can also provide some nice market intelligence to other marketers, marketing services, people like out of home, telling them these are the most prime locations and the best people live here. I don't know. I mean, a sensible, smart marketer will then say, okay, let me go to Amagi, get my information and intelligence and calibrate my spends in a decent way so that they are either complementing or it's like a roadblock.
So,
I have everything around in the most sort of high value market infested people, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Wow, amazing. So connected TV has redefined how audiences consume content, And what role does Amagi play in enhancing the CTV experience? One is identifying people and giving it to them, but at the same time, I think you also give intelligence and analytics and suggestions. So, is that the only extent to which Amagi helps sort of enhance the CTV experience for the viewer? Or what else do you do? And also, how do you leverage AI to improve content delivery and viewer engagement through TV?
Okay.
Tell me that.
So multiple things we do. Again, as company, Pawan, the fundamental idea for us is viewer first strategy. What I mean by that is if the viewer is happy watching the right content and feeling there is a pleasurable experience, all of the ecosystem will actually tend to benefit. For example, when Fast came in, the challenge with Fast was that you had very targeted advertising, but if you don't have advertising, you would see a slate because there's no. For example, I have only 50% fill rate in a 2-minute ad break, so you used to see what is called a filler because there's nothing to show you, for example, as a user. The challenge with that's one option. The other challenge was customers were seeing the same advertising again and again because there was no other advertising or a campaign available targeting that particular person. Now, these are fundamental challenges in this business. Amagi went ahead and said, okay, how do we make the viewer experience better? Leave alone advertising and all that, we'll make it better. We created a new model called Zero Slate.
Okay.
What it means is we will not show a repeated ad multiple times over because we don't have an ad, or we will not show any fillers for our customers. But we will, if there is an ad, we'll show an ad, else we will pull the content up. That means we moved it where a channel, you are watching a channel, I'm watching a channel. If you have 1 minute worth of ad versus I have 2 minutes, you will only see 1 minute worth of ad and the whole channel will move up for you.
Okay.
You become a personalized channel for yourself.
It's a real-time amoebic kind of movement.
Exactly, right? By doing this, again, we trialed this with our customers in the US. You wouldn't believe it that we saw 20% increase in viewer engagement. The session durations became higher. And we saw 25% increase in ad impressions because people are spending more time, they got more ads, and henceforth, so it was a big win-win. Viewers got a great opportunity. Advertisers got much better targeting because they could actually do it for a longer session. Our content owners made more money because the duration increased, henceforth the number of ad impressions increased. So
exposure. Yeah.
This is a classic example of where you start from viewers. If viewers are happy, continuing to watch content, and you're giving them a good experience, the whole ecosystem here was able to benefit.
Wonderful. In fact, one more benefit was for the platforms.
Yes, absolutely.
That viewers thought that they were in a great place because all those ads that came, they were endorsements of the quality of where they were, of the platform they were on.
True. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Excellent. So no downside here at all.
True.
Really. And so what is the size of the CTV market in India? What is the growth potential? Like I said, the CAGR over the next couple of years is expected to be in excess of 30% for CTV. Yeah. Where do you see the market growing and how are the regional markets responding to it?
So essentially, I think first is to, as I told you, the televisions increase, then the market's going to increase. Right
Sure.
now, I would put it somewhere in the few hundreds of crores today, the market and how it's actually addressing. But the growth rate is much, much higher that we're seeing, right? So at least in the first few years, you might see even 50% and above growth rate. We're already seeing that, right? So that's the level of things, right? After that, you're going to see some drop in the growth rate because it'll become 30% because the size of the market will become high. But clearly, we're seeing tremendous progress in those aspects. It is starting to grow. It is the promise is high. It is few hundreds of crores right now. I think it will start to hit to 1,000 crore number very soon, and then from there on, we have to see how that's going to really take the 30% growth rate beyond that. That's what I see.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you've been helping marketers evaluate CTV spends in a transparently measured way, right?
Right.
That has been one important strength of Amagi. And the other is, addressing and solving challenges like ad fraud and ensuring brand safety on CTV platforms. So they're both very good, but they are also linked and connected with, especially the first thing that I mentioned about evaluating CTV spends in a transparently measured way. Measurement is such a huge problem, and every streaming platform, will hold its numbers to its chest. I'm not saying Amagi should come out and declare everything, but you definitely do share your panels very transparently with insights and with analytics and with suggestions to marketers who are your customers, so to speak. Am I right?
Correct, absolutely. Amagi is a very
Correct.
extensive analytics platform. And for us,
Right.
I think for the industry, transparency is going to be the most important thing. And we want to
Hmm.
be able to give as much transparency so that it's a win-win for everybody because advertisers see where they're getting their impressions from. We know the audiences, the effectiveness can be measured. Content
Hmm.
owners would want to know that we are getting the right advertising with the right customer base doing it. We
Hmm.
truly believe there's a need for a transparency, almost like a people have to come together, a consortia of sort, where today with blockchain and others, you can create a very good, nice, transparent environment where everybody gets their data. And for example, you could be, I'm just taking an example, is you can be ZTV and you can be Coke as an advertiser. And I have let's assume a Samsung TV is my platform where I'm watching it. Now,
Hmm.
Samsung wants information, they can get it from every TV channel, what ads ran. Coke wants to know its information, it can find out where all its Coke ads actually ran. ZTV wants its information, they can know all the ads that ran on their channel, for example. So a blockchain infrastructure can allow them to get their information without trying to pollute everybody's information. So there are clearly technologies available. It's a question of the industry and ecosystem coming together so that we can build a truly transparent and 100% available platform, which will really benefit the whole ecosystem.
Excellent. One important piece of advice from you. Okay. One important piece of advice, it can have 10 sentences or 20. I leave that to you. What would you and why would you tell marketers and advise marketers to uh, take the news channel CTV route to connecting with customers in this very, very important upcoming peak season of news channels, for instance, because they're a small but a very important part of
True.
the Indian media and entertainment setup. When I say small, I mean in terms of market share,
True.
right? So tell me, why would you advise marketers to definitely include CTV on news channels in their marketing plans and media mixes?
Two things, Pawan. We talked about it. See, elections is happening, so definitely viewership is going to be high. You're going to
Hmm.
have the largest collection of decision makers in every household watching the
Hmm.
content. So you have the best of the people, that audiences that you can actually get to. They're all
Correct.
listening to it, and the intent of news channels today is people will not switch off a news channel. It's going to be so
Hmm.
because this is the most exciting event that's happening in the end of the
Hmm.
later part of this year, that everybody can actually
Hmm.
be glued to television. So you're going to
Hmm.
have the right viewership, the right audiences, because you have a significant viewership, right audiences, and you have a targeting platform which allows you to target the exact way you want. I think that's the best
Hmm.
way then, actually, for anybody to look at.
Excellent. And Amagi can take people and marketers and broadcasters together on
Right.
their journey for servicing the best viewers in the best possible way,
Correct.
through audience increase, through monetizing, and of course through all the analytics and data and cost efficiency that comes
Absolutely.
in.
Absolutely.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Uh, Bhaskar, you have been across a lot through so much, and you've created a Magi, and I know that tomorrow you're running away to the US and then to Europe, and you'll come back after about a fortnight or more. So thank you for giving the time. Tell me, what have been one or two very important learnings for you that you've always sort of kept with yourself? Meaning, let me put it another way. Something important about you that even you know most people who know you really well also, or even in the few people who know you really well, may not know about you. What is it? What is that one or those two things that you want to share with people
No,
about yourself?
Pawan, fundamentally, I think what has kept me in on my toes, if you will, is really
Hmm.
starting with the point of ignorance. So anything I
Okay.
start, I start with the whole idea that I don't know it. So ignorance is the biggest bliss that I have. That allows me to go back, look at first principles, and stay in trying to solve problems rather than going with any preconceived notion of any fashion. So start with
Hmm.
ground zero. I don't know it, and I'm going to really start looking at it from an outside in standpoint. So ignorance is the biggest strength that I feel that I have as an individual.
Keeping an open mind and learning. Yeah, absolutely. So when exactly did you start Amagi, and how far has it grown? What is the footprint like?
So Amagi was founded in 2008, although the first service launched was in 2010. So about 14 years of commercial operations that we've been doing. The company now runs in about 40 plus countries, where we run about 5,000 channels, um, roughly close to 100,000 plus hours of live content per year, news, sports. We ran the Olympics in the US, for example. We run a lot of games and sports and La Liga matches and sports, everything that we do across the globe. We do close to almost 50 billion opportunities, ad opportunities every year. 50 billion. So that's some of our opportunity that goes through our platform. Almost close to 2 billion hours of viewership passes through an Amagi infrastructure today on a yearly basis. So that's the size of the company right
Wonderful.
now. We are a close to 1,000 people company. And obviously, India is where our development center we have in Croatia and Poland, where we have development centers. US is our biggest market, followed by Europe and then the Asia region right now.
Wonderful. And how many thousands of brands do you think have passed through the Amagi portals across the world?
Lost count. It really, it
Guesstimate.
easily, for example, just to give you about close to about 10,000 campaigns happen every month. So it could be, and again every month. So
Oh,
over time, it could have been many, many, many. Right. So I have no count on
wonderful.
it. Right?
So you founded Amagi in 2008 and you launched it in 2010 in terms of operations.
True.
What was happening during those 2 years? Were you all under the hood setting it up?
Yes, we were kind of thinking through the. We didn't know anything about media, so we first learning the media business. What does it mean to be in television business? What is it? So we are all not from the background at all. So even today, I don't think I understand it adequately, but we're learning through the process. Right?
Amazing, amazing. Wonderful. You're tuned to Mediacast. This is Pawan R. Chawla, your host and friend, and with me is Baskar Subramanian, co-founder and CEO of Amagi. Bhaskar, why Amagi for every marketer and brand owner and broadcaster in India?
So Magi is the leader in connected television today, enabling content owners to produce, distribute, and monetize content. If you look at it, we have the largest footprint in connected television where they could actually access the most targeted ad inventory in the most transparent fashion, and then they can actually monetize. So I truly believe, Pawan, we are the best platform for any marketer to actually target their campaigns and get to the right audiences in India because of the availability of this platform and the spread of the platform that we have today.
Wonderful, wonderful. More strength to you, Bhaskar. Bhaskar, I really have enjoyed myself. That was really insightful. A lot of interesting and very important points for marketers, for companies, for broadcasters, for consumers. You know, on how to brilliantly use CTV, for instance. You know, for their own consumption, and about all the brains and the logistics and the algorithms and the science and the art and the AI that goes behind the proactive feeds that come and so delight everybody on CTV. And I see that Amagi is a huge player in that space and truly growing and enabling everybody. And you have been the original Indian druid on media and entertainment who started with blissful ignorance about media, and look at what an amazing entity you and your co-founders have built, Amagi. I salute you, Bhaskar. I found this very, very insightful, this entire conversation. What did you think about your chat with me today, and also, about what Media Brief does?
Thank you very much, Pawan. Thank you for having me. And obviously, I think what you're doing with Media Brief, and more importantly with the Mediacast podcast, which I think is educating, enlightening, and actually bringing a lot more insights across the industry. And I think this is a big human service that you're doing to the industry itself. And I truly believe this will become the fundamental pioneer what you've been doing. I think this is a great, great contribution to our industry, and makes it much more knowledgeable for everybody to kind of learn new things. I think this is the go-to place that people come for. I think you're doing a fantastic job, Pawan, and I'm assuming I've just put one small step in helping you through this process. But I think you're doing a great job. Fantastic. Thank you for this.
You're very, very kind, and you extemporize so beautifully. Warmed my heart. Thank you very much indeed. You make all the effort worthwhile. This is a labor of love for us, Bhaskar, and thank you for seeing it for what it is. So, Bhaskar, thanks very much indeed for your time. Thanks. Also, once again, this is my format. I always appreciate good work done by good people. So, I must once again conclude. And before I finish the episode, say thank you once again to Mayuka Satish of the practice in Bengaluru, and also to your wonderful Copcom head, Ashish Mashikar. Both have been really, really helpful, invaluable support in making this interaction happen. So, Bhaskar, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was my conversation with Baskar Subramanian, co-founder and CEO of Amagi, on this episode of Mediacast from MediaBrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pawan R. Chawla, and I must admit I found that conversation for me full of insights. I hope you did too. Till we meet again in the next episode of Mediacast on MediaBrief.com, this is your host and friend Pawan R. Chawla saying, stay cool, stay informed, stay safe, stay measured and entertained. Bye-bye.